seconds.
Welcome to Comic Book Spectrum, a Rising Tide Broadcast Network production. Get ready to explore the world of comics, past, present, and future, with our panelists Eric Hawkins, Brian Rodman, and Clyde Hall. And now here's your host, Brian K. Morris.
And good evening, everyone. How the heck are you? Welcome to Comic Book Spectrum for Thursday, September 16th, 2021. We're glad you're here. And we've got a little change in the lineup tonight. Eric S. Hawkins is feeling under the weather, so we've got more than adequate replacement for him, the one, the only Joe D. McFee, but we'll be introducing him in a minute. But first of all, we want to tell you about people that are very, very important to us, and one of them is Plasma Fire Graphics, who is sponsoring this episode. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you. When you've put together the best book you can, you want a cover that'll help sell your hard work. And that's just what Jeffrey Hayes does through Plasma Fire Graphics. Check them out on Facebook. Check out their website on plasmafiregraphics.com. And also, they can make not just a cover for you, they can also do graphics that'll help you sell your work on social media, as well as a beautiful trailer like the one you just saw. So get in touch with him. He's very affordable. Trust me, he is. Otherwise, Cookie wouldn't let me hire him. So please check out plasmafiregraphics.com. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you, because it matters to your readers. And also, people that matter to us are the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, who help keep us on the air. We've got your entertainment and information 7 days a week, morning and nighttime, all around the clock. And check out, let's see, tonight it's Thursday, so we've got at 9 p.m. Eastern, Stupid O'Clock, the best conversation show on the air. We've got lots of intelligent, geeky talk, and stay tuned at 11 o'clock to see if Dan Hollowfield is at work or he's hosting Last Man Standing. It's great stuff. Also, every day, start your day with Michaela Jade's Motivationals. She gives you a kick in the butt to get you out of bed and get you working towards your creative dreams. And then tomorrow morning, I'll be back with Nevermind the Furthermore. And tomorrow night, we'll have Nicholas Anthony Tucker with the Historical Fantasy Guild at 8 p.m. Always fun, entertaining, and good stuff. Anyway, folks, we've got also want to thank our Patreon supporters. Yes, we had to redo the card. We've got so many people, and I'm grateful for each and every one of them. And they've got their own Patreons too. What is Patreon? It's a monthly subscription service where you can directly support your favorite creators, and but you get stuff in return. And we want to also thank Angie, who signed up this afternoon, and we'll be putting her on this card soon. And if you want to see your name here, then go to www.com. www.patreon.com, / Brian K. Morris, and see what we offer you. All right, and now I am pleased to bring our panel out here, and like I said, Eric, get well fast, okay? And we've got some wonderful people, and we have the one, the only Clyde Hall, as well as Brian Rodman and his feline mask. And also, we've got the one, the only Joe D. McFee from the desk of a small press publisher every Saturday night at 10 p.m. And what kind of trash are you reading there?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what the hell is a universal pew-pew gun that has a switch that goes big boom. I'm just waiting for this gun to go, twist that shot, twist that shot.
Well, you know, you've got one copy of that fine, super fine comic. I was going to pitch this one. Oh, wait, it's got the Seth the Moose cover. I can't do that to Seth. Anyway, no. But no, everybody, please get this. The Nebulizer, a fantastic comic by the gentleman on the lower right-hand side of the screen here. And I'm sure he'll have a word or two to say about this. Definitely check it out. And thank you for all the goodies in there, Brian. It's really a treat. And really, it's a super comic book, too.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. It's better when you're on cocaine. Just word of the wise. So I've heard.
That explains everything. Anyway,
crystal meth after you had a couple of blunts.
Ooh, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Now it's a party.
Yeah, we do.
I thought it came with packing peanuts. I tossed them. I didn't know. I'm sorry.
And we of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network do not condone this sort of drug-addled behavior, even though we indulge in it. But anyway, so do not follow our examples. No, my strength is a strength of 10 because my heart is pure. But anyway, speaking of pure hearts, let's go around the room and let's start with Joe, our special guest tonight. Joe D. McFee, tell everyone who you are and why you are so darned amazing.
I am me. I am Joe D. McFee. I am the president of Exigency Studios, host of Rises Tide, one of the Rises Tide news shows called From the Desolate Small Press Publisher, which you could watch on this network every Saturday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. Outside of that, I've been, publishing comics for like the past, 14 years now? Mm-hmm. A little bit over a decade in publishing comics, as well as working on my very first RPG with Nicholas Tockard of Lockdown Games. So that should be hitting stores soon. So we're going to have to kind of like beta testing and everything. That's going to be special invite a little bit soon here. But we're almost there with that. But outside that, I've been broadcasting and been working on comics, and our next couple of issues are going to be out here soon, especially Amazonia 7. Amazonia number 7 should be out soon. We got probably close to like 12 more pages to have finished coloring. Then the lettering process won't take that long, and we'll be editing and printing soon.
All right. And where can they find this comic? He said, prompting you to get some sales.
Oh, we could get it directly from our website at exigencystudios.com. That is XIGENCY. Once again, XI as in India, G as in George, G as in George, E as in Edward, N as in Nancy, C as in Charlie, Y as in Yankee, studios.com. Or until, what's today? The 16th? Oh, well. Can't get it on Comixology anymore as of yet after we republish it over to KDP because of the whole transition of Comixology submit over to KDP. They want to force us over to republishing everything on KDP for us to have our books to continue to sell. But if you already know somebody that has Comixology and they already bought it, that would be another way to get it here. And now I'm going to let you in on another little secret hint that only a skinny little bit of people know about. You could take a look at some of our books on Webtoons. It's been out there for a couple of years.
Ooh, I just.
Well, I know you could. I know you could read the first 2 issues of Primetime Saturday Night there. You could read the issue number 1 of AWF and the first couple of issues to Amazonia as well.
Excellent.
So that's the little big secret, the little known secret.
I'm leaving the show right now just to read those things. So anyway, Joe, thank you so much for being here. We do appreciate it.
Not a problem.
All right. And someone else we appreciate is the one, the only Brian Rodman. My Brian, what is that wonderful comic you're holding there?
Which one, Brian? I have 2. The first one has already been mentioned. It's The Nebulizer. It's the post-apocalyptic action comedy about a asthmatic person who is fighting allergen mutants in a post-apocalyptic world. And then we have the horror fantasy comic book series, Memoirs of an Angel. There's a lot of them because I'm obsessed with it. You can find both of those at brianrodman.com. You can also find all my social media at brianrodman.com as well. And you can go to this link right here. We are at 68 followers currently for our Memoirs of an Angel issue 8 Kickstarter that launches on October 1st at noon. Let's make it 70 followers before this program's over, shall we? That would be wonderful, and I would be most appreciative. And I'm so appreciative of all of you who have already signed up and followed. Excuse me. It's going to be a great campaign. I just know it. I'm also 1/3 of the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, which will be debuting on the Rising Tide Network starting October 6th at 7 p.m. And we've got some fun in store for you guys this season. Thanks for having me, Brian. This is going to be a lot of fun. I've needed this.
Yeah, Brian has had a day, so this will be good therapy for the boy. Probably for all of us. Anyway, thank you, Brian. And here he is, the gold standard himself, Mr. Clyde Hall. Clyde, inform the populace of how awesome you are. Ooh.
I am awesome enough that I have this cover of the nebulizer. Now, you know I have color blindness issues. This tickles my retinas. It makes me tingle.
That's the best compliment a comic I've created has ever gotten. It tickles your
retinas. I love
retinas.
this. I love your book. And I got the digital copy also. And so I got that was a little bit, it came before the physical copy. So I've been enjoying it for weeks now. And they are not kidding, guys. You need to go out and you need to get a copy of Nebulizer #1. Memoirs of an Angel, taking nothing away from that. It's a great series and I enjoy it. But that Nebulizer first issue really just hit me right in the feels. Starting with the cover, right in the eyes. And but it's awesome. It's a great series. So congratulations on all of your followers. And I am one of them waiting for the launch of your new project. So, but I'm Clyde Hall, and I am an independent author and a contributing writer at Stormgate Press. They are the publishers of Pulp Reality, a new pulp set of stories, short stories. And this one was the first one I was in with a story of my B-Man character, and it got the Pulp Factory Awards for the year. And then Pulp Reality #2 came out, and my second B-Man story is in there. And in the works right now from Stormgate is Pulp Reality #3, a third B-Man story. The third story in a 4-part arc. So that should be coming out before the end of the year. So you can go to www.stormgatepress.com and look at all of the good things, like the Captain Hawkland series by Charles F. Milhouse. Hashtag always promote your friends. Those books and stories. There are Hawkland stories in Pulp Reality, so you get a taste there in the anthologies. But there's also books, novellas of the Hawkland adventures. So I would urge you to go to Stormgate Press for that, or you can get them on Amazon. You can look under Pulp Reality on Amazon. But if you go to Stormgate Press, you'll see the entire venue of all of the good quality publications that Stormgate Press has put out and they are planning to put out. So we'd encourage you to do that. If you want to catch me live, this is the place every Thursday night for Comic Book Spectrum, hosted by your friend and mine, Brian K. Morris.
Who? Oh, no, thank you, Clyde. And I'm Brian K. Morris, independent publisher, freelance author, hybrid author at that, former mortician's assistant, award-winning playwright, and Facebook famous YouTuber. And I'm also in Pulp Reality. I'm also in a number of places. My name is in these books. Woo-hoo! So, woohoo, yeah. Forget that stuff up the front. I'm in there. Clyde's name is in there. So that's all you need to know. Spend the money. It's worth it. No, it's seriously terrific books. They really are. Really, really proud of our guy Brian there. And also, just want to let everybody know that I will be making a personal appearance in Benton, Illinois this Saturday from 10 till 5 at the Benton Community Center, the SI Comic Con. Please come visit us. It's going to be a great, great time. And also want to work in a plug for my YouTube challenge. If I can get 1,100 subscribers to my YouTube channel by the end of Halloween this year, I will put on a special 12-hour broadcast of Nevermind the Furthermore live with many guests and a few giveaways too. So please come check us out. And I will also have issues 1 and 2 of Pulp Reality this weekend at the Benton Comic-Con. So it'll be a lot of fun. Yes, Brian.
And I will volunteer to be one of the giveaways.
Ooh, and not just why rent when you can own. That's what I say. So anyway, no, seriously, I always look forward to this show because we always have fun. We always have some great people chiming in, and tonight we are gonna whiz through the comments here. Carl Wisman, good evening, everyone. Good to see you, sir. And there looks to be a casting change, so that means a new season. The Eric must have asked for too much money in his contract.
No, he got a spin-off show.
Yeah, he wants his own spinoff, and he wants a decent panel with him too. No, he's feeling under the weather tonight. So well, this is when we were going to ask you to come aboard anyway, wasn't it, Joe?
Is this number 30?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this is I'm in my normal spot.
Yeah.
15 episodes.
Now we're gonna bring you back more often, Joe. Seriously, because you are terrific. You really are. And speaking of terrific, there's Ted Davies Artistry, also a member of the Rising Tide Broadcasting Network. Good evening to you. Welcome home. And everyone's saying hello to each other. And Donna Carly, mwah, always a pleasure to see you here. Hope you're doing well. And Carl is opening the Gurkha Crest cigar for this show. Yeah, this is major league. We are truly honored. Those Gurkhas are not cheap.
He got his coffee cup like this now with the pinky out.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I forgot to put in my animal eye cup again. I'm sorry. It's the vodka.
I got.
Yeah, there we go.
That's your mug.
That is hot. I'm telling you.
Yeah, we do. We have to play represent your mug.
Yes, absolutely.
And my Rising Tide one's downstairs. Thank you, Clyde.
There you go.
Bailed me out. Thank goodness.
I do have to show off this wonderful shirt that I got.
Oh, let's put you on the full screen there.
Damn purr.
It's like a take on the old, Hammer horror movies.
Oh,
but,
yeah. Oh,
I figured it was very appropriate. Me being a cat dad and all that.
That's true. Actually, you are a human pet, is what it is.
It's actually
right?
Very much what it is.
You are a human pet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Carl Wisman says, under the weather. Yep, that's what they said about Barbara Bain when she asked for more money and screen time. Let's put it this way. Eric makes from this show what I pay him for art. It's called Imposing Upon Our Friendship. And Pop Culture Avenger, hello, Comic Book Spectrum crew. Greetings to everyone else. Pop Culture Avenger, so glad you're here. And welcome, Joe D. McFee, says Carl Wisman, who hosts a monthly cigar show with our own Ted Davies. Please check that out, even if you don't like cigars. It's really an interesting show. And Comics Explained, yo, how you doing? How the heck are you? And of course, the true star is now being addressed, Luna.
And she's staring at the camera too.
Oh yeah, she knows. She knows the show's hers.
Yeah. Look straight at the camera, Luna. You're doing fine. And Eric Hawkins says, I was blacklisted. You should be so lucky.
You were not. You were under the weather.
Yeah. Brown bottle flu. Yeah, I've had that a few times too. And I still haven't developed an immunity to it though. And Carl Wisman says, more jealousy, Eric. It's everywhere. And what the hell? Everyone has their nebulizer, but me? I have all this spare time to read and no nebulizer.
I don't know, but they never mind. It's in the mail, Eric.
Yeah. What corner do you wish to back yourself into, Brian? Let us know so we can help, okay?
It was going to be some kind of joke about sleeping with me, but I didn't want to put you through that.
What joke? Anyway, and Roy Dross, good to see you. This is the party, my friend. Now that you're here, it is such a pleasure to have you here. And wow, Eric, that is sad. And can you say I have COVID? You don't have to say under the weather. I know some people are sensitive about getting the cooties like that.
You got the Rona.
Yeah, He's got the Rona. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, and Damian Waldron. Hey, let's get to the comics. Well, you got 4 comics right here, or 4 wannabe one comics.
Yeah, you do make a good curly.
Thanks.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Although I have the hairstyle for Larry. I'm working on that. I'm rocking that look. So, but Damian Waldron, I'm on page 5. You will know what that means. Anyway, and ouch, Eric, please take care of yourself. Yeah, definitely. He's not. Eric is just feeling a little under the weather. Seriously, it's not like he has come through this better than a lot of people of our acquaintance. So anyway, that shirt is perfect. And Damian Waldron speaks for us all when he says, get well, Eric. Please, Eric, we look forward to having you back on the show. But we are blessed to have Joe D. McFee here tonight, and we've got some comic books to review. And what say we get started on that? So who would like? Yeah. Why not? Why not? We got
All
90 minutes to kill. We might as well do something, right? Yeah. So
Sure, why not?
So who would like to go first? Joe, you volunteered.
Joe.
Joe's in the right spot.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He took my spot for the first.
Like ruin issue 30 would please review this.
And before we do, Michaela Jade. Well, hello, guys. Hello, Michaela. Mwah! Always a pleasure, darling. Check out Michaela Jade's Tidbits and Scribbles Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Also, every Monday through Friday around 7 a.m. on YouTube. And please subscribe to her channel, but not before you subscribe to mine because I want to come in first. Anyway, and you're welcome, Eric. Thank you, buddy.
No problem, Eric.
Yeah.
Now, since I am being forced and my arm being twisted like this, okay, I'll go ahead.
Oh, listen to this.
Now, the last time I was here, I introduced the audience to the greatest Wonder Girl ever, Yara Fleur.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to do this because, again, there's 3 issues out. I'm not going to cover 2 issues in one episode, and she's definitely not Cassandra Stan Smart. That's a good thing. Now, for those who've been following me on my Facebook, know I was also reading World War She-Hulk. I'm not even going to go there for this series, go there as of yet. I want to finish reading it before I bring the edit hammer to it. So, for those who've been watching my channel, today's subject is going to be a character that I'm very in love with. And if you follow how I was kind of ragging on it on my show from the Decimus Ball Press publisher, I got some good news for you. It did get better. I might have to give Mr. Easton an apology here.
Ooh.
We're going to talk about Mr. Miracle, the Source of Freedom, not issue number 1, but issue. No, that's World War She-Hulk. What are we talking about? There it is. Issue 2.
Nice.
So I reviewed the first 3 issues on my channel, and issue 4 came out not too long ago here, and issue 4 pretty much starts to talk about Shiloh's history and the origin of Mr. Miracle, and his origin is being told by Oberon, out of all people.
Oh, wow.
And we find out about the original Miracle that was here on Earth. And it turns out that Thaddeus, the original Mr. Miracle, is... Yeah, no spoilers, but I'm going to get into it. So, pretty much, it ends up, finishing up the cliffhanger from issue number 3, where he gets blasted and everything. They finally brought him back, and here's Oberon. Oberon pretty much, was looking over him and everything. It's like, hey, kid, it's a lot of things that you don't know, and this, that, and the other. I have to make some modifications, but you're going to be okay, type deal. And Oberon was like, yeah, there's been 3 Mr. Miracles. It's like, I didn't say that there were only 3. So he's trying to let him know that there's a, you know, kind of like a lineage for being Miracle. And Oberon was kind of like letting him know how things were and this, that, and the other. And then he talks about the very first Mr. Miracle that was on Earth, who went by the name of Thaddeus. And, you know, that was the whole thing about why the Earth Miracle always wore a mask, because it had a long-standing history due to something else. So Oberon starts talking about the history of it, and it goes all the way back to, like, you know, through like the civil rights movement and further back. And it all started with Thaddeus in his younger days finding a mother box, and the mother box bonded with him. So after, you know, merging with the mother box and everything, you know, he defended his parents off because, you know, like I said, 1960s, you have to deal with civil rights, you have to deal with all the cultural aspects of the 1960s and everything. He saves his parents and everything, and then he learns, you know, the true extent of his power and everything. He decides to start taking his act onto the road to make money as an escape artist, an illusionist and escape artist. So he ended up getting like a agent and everything, and he starts traveling the world and everything as the Mr. Miracle of that time of the 1960s. And there's like a lot of historical landmarks and events that, you know, they placed, you know, Thaddeus in throughout his travels and everything during the 1960s. He eventually gets married. And as he was talking about the marriage and everything, he was talking about that the original Miracle had a daughter by the name of Rose. And that's where he kind of stopped him. It's like, well, my mother was named Rose and everything. It's like, what are you talking about? You don't know me. You don't know who I am, and this, that, and the other. And then Oberon kept going on about the story, about, you know, the whole thing about the daughter and all this other stuff going on with, you know, the family. And then when Thaddeus was born, not Thaddeus, but when Shiloh was born, he came across a mother box as well, and he touched it and he bonded with it. His grandfather's wishes after that had happened was that it's like he didn't realize that Shiloh boomed to his mother and father away. So for the longest time, he thought he was an orphan, but he actually had family and all this other stuff. And then Thaddeus ended up putting him in an orphanage just to protect himself, to keep him away from the lineage that goes on with being a miracle. So for the longest time, it's like he never knew his true origin, or at least Shiloh never did. That's why, you know, I kind of like understood why I kind of like Shiloh from where he was being told from Scott Free's point of view, but this book overturns that. So I guess this is going to be kind of like the new canon for Shiloh from this point forward. So Oberon kind of hints about his true legacy and what he's expected to do and everything. And he rebuilt the actual urn that Thaddeus had that grants Thaddeus his true power. And then when he touches it again, you know, he begins to understand it. It's like he understands what his grandfather wants him to do, and the issue ends there. So the reason why I say I have to give it up to Brandon Easton on this is because he kind of took us on an adventure that I wish that he would have got to a lot faster. And by the way, like I said, no spoilers, so that's the reason why I couldn't say much or nothing. But I'm going to show it to you anyway. But I have to hand it to Brandon because I was like, you know, I was up here was like, you know, you're not doing us any favors by putting in all of this cultural significance into the story of Mr. Miracle. Where are you going with this? Because you take it away from the story. It took it to issue number 4 to really understand why Shiloh feels the way that he does. And then when you find out that Thaddeus, the original Earth Miracle, is his grandfather, then it starts to make sense a lot more. So I pretty much owe him more of a attaboy than, you messed up here, because like it took 4 issues to get to that point where it's like, okay, now everything has its clarity. Now the question here is, how is everything going to end up between the whole aspect of him and Never Free, and now we saw Orion coming into the picture. So it's a lot more that's going to happen here. And how he's going to address the fact that in this world, there's no scot-free.
Huh.
So it's a lot of stuff that's going to end up happening, but it's a worthwhile read if you are willing to go through the longer storytelling of why Shiloh is acting the way that he is, and all the other stuff that just didn't like piece together right away into issue 4.
Okay.
So
what's your review? What's your number on it?
For issue 4 by itself, I will give this a 8 out of 10.
Okay.
And the reason I give it an 8 out of 10 because it played more on my nostalgia per se. See Oberon actually telling the truth about what's really going on, and it makes me also realize that Oberon might be apocalyptic too.
Oh wow!
At that aspect, because again, how come you know so much about every miracle and then spill the beans that there might be more than 3?
Cool.
That's the thing that I'm worried about. It's like Oberon said that there could be more than 3 of you.
Interesting. Yeah, because I'm a big fan of the original. The Kirby thing. It doesn't sound like Jack Kirby purists are going to be doing cartwheels over the new continuity, but that's kind of true of comics to begin with anymore. So,
but at least they try to do one of the original characters some justice in this modern day age, because Shiloh was there back in the Kirby age.
Right.
Right. He was one of the understudies for Scott, and he eventually got his own suit. And then we saw that in, if I remember correctly, in the 7 Soldiers storyline, Shiloh actually found his own anti-life equation.
Right. Well, and also Thaddeus Brown, he was only in 3 pages of Mr. Miracle #1 back in the day, and he just looked like an interesting character. And Kirby, being Kirby, was never one to look back. And so it's like, okay, he's dead now. Let's just concentrate on Scott Free and everyone else. So
exactly, it's like mental past. This guy is now it, and let's move forward.
Yeah. The thing is, I also read years ago, there's a number of great books about Jack Kirby, and also one coming out by Glenn B. Fleming. Be sure to pick that up on Indiegogo when it comes out. And also the Jack Kirby Collector put out like every 3 months or so from Tomorrow's Publications. And I remember reading that at first Kirby's job at DC was to do 1 or 2 issues of a comic of his creation. Then he would hand it off to someone else in theory, like he did with Cobra. And I remember reading that Kirby was calling John Romita Sr. to come back to DC and do Mr. Miracle. And I'm like, John Romita Sr. drawing Big Barda. Talk about objectification. But anyway, but yeah, Kirby.
A welcome one.
What?
A welcome one.
Oh yes. Oh heavens, yes. John Romita could draw attractive women. Hashtag Mary Jane. Hashtag Gwen. Hashtag anyone he ever picked up a pencil and drew. But anyway, but no, it sounds interesting. This new version of Mr. Miracle. I admit I haven't been buying it because one, I'm not familiar with the writer's work that much, and also, things like this is like, is it going to offend the purist in me? So,
well, this one won't, because it's a lot of nods back. But like I said before, since I am familiar with Brandon Easton's work, it's like a lot of his work is either hit or miss. And originally I was thinking that this is going to be a miss because he was taking a long time to build all of this stuff up. And then when we finally get here, it's like, now it makes sense. I kind of wish that you would start doing this around issue 2, when the whole thing about him not knowing who Scott Free was. That would, open up the door and be like, okay, I have no idea. He pretty much said, I have no idea who you're talking about. I have no clue. It's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
What's going on here? And then by issue 3, that's when you kind of get the understanding that this is a completely different universe in the DC multiverse. So it makes sense.
Okay. That would make sense. All right. Well, cool. Well, thank you very much, Joe.
Not a problem.
That was fantastic. And we've got some more comments coming in here. Keisha Acuff goes, hello, beautiful people. Mwah! Keisha Acuff, who also does the right. Yeah, you saw it. I'm getting to it. She does some stuff for the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, but you can catch her every week with Willow Schuyler on Cryptid Crunch on the back of the Cereal Box Network. And it's awesome. And Teresa Dunn, hello to you. Mwah, glad to see you back in the Cereal Box. We were just talking about you. Hey there, friends and foes. Glad to have you here. JohnPica.com. Check him out. And Eric Hawkins rises from his deathbed to tell Joe, yep, not interested at all, Joe. Sounds like it needs more horror. Well, you notice I didn't ask, how are the sound effects? And are there any horse skeletons in it?
Not much, but then again, I could have did the Technicolor horror book that you and I both have, but I was saving that for you because you wanted to read it and review it. I could have did that tonight. I could have really said something that you wouldn't like, but I respect you. So my job is to get you to like things that I like and vice versa.
There you go. And stay tuned for the spinoff show Ain't Happening. Anyway.
From those who brought you What's Happening, now we got Ain't Happening.
That's right. Yes. Yes, we're the one that doesn't have Fred Rerun Barry on it. But anyway, and now I've really betrayed my age. But anyway, thank you, Joe. Thank you so much. And now up to the plate next is Mr. Brian Rodman. Brian, what do you have for us this week?
I, surprise, snagged the new Hellboy in the BPRD 1957 one-shot called Family Ties. And speaking of horror, or that. Speaking of horror and sitcoms, we have Hellboy. And I got to say, right off the bat, I have to gush about Hellboy for a minute because he's my favorite. Hellboy is by far my favorite character in comics. And I think it's because personally I can relate to his attitude. I just absolutely love how Hellboy can look in the face of the most terrifying things in folklore and make just a snide, sarcastic comment and make you laugh when you should be, scared to death. And usually it's just oh crap. and there's a lot of that in this one shot. Before I get into it, I really want to jump into just how awesome I love this cover. Obviously, it is an homage to The Exorcist. Super cool. Really good work with the shadows. Of course, you can definitely, everything's a shadow, but the tail and the right hand of doom. And it is, let's see, the artwork is the story, of course, is by Mike Mignola. And Chris Robertson. Art is by Lawrence Campbell. Colors by the amazing Dave Stewart. Letters by Clem Robbins. And this cover was by Lawrence Campbell with Dave Stewart as well. Just to sum up the official word on the comic. Before they can track down an errant copy of Gustav Strobel's Witchcraft and Demonology, Hellboy and BPRD, Hellboy and BPRD agent Susan Zhang are sidetracked by a beset housewife's pleas for help. Unraveling the mystery of an unwanted house guest may lead to the occult investigators maybe lead them right where they wanted to be, but also right into demonic danger. And I gotta say, you start right off the bat with they introduce exactly what they are looking for. Hellboy and Susan are walking through a neighborhood in the 1950s. No worries about being seen. I will say this: if you're not familiar with the Hellboy comics versus the movies, if you remember in the Ron Perlman movies, Hellboy was a big secret. He was like Bigfoot, right? Like the government didn't want anybody to know he exists. In the comics, they don't give a crap. Hellboy's all over the place. Hellboy, and nobody really acts like Hellboy is a monster. They're like, oh, hey. And they move, and like nobody really acts like it's a big deal, which I love. I love that. It's so, I think it's an aspect that really, I just love that anybody can just see a large, giant red monster walking down the street and it not be a big deal. Because that's not the point of the story. And in the first couple pages, like any good one shot, the first page, you got what the story is going to be about. They're searching for this book right here on witchcraft and demonology because it is now in paperback and it has real occult incantations and spells that you can summon demons with, which is never a good thing to have in your house. Depending on who you are, I guess. And from that point on, they're walking down the street and they decide to, just go to different houses and see if anybody's seen this book floating around the area at all. And they happen to the last house they come to. They knock on the door and a housewife answers, and they can tell that she is very distraught. And right away, they know something's wrong. And the art, if you've read Outcast, Robert Kirkman's Outcast, the artwork really leans in that direction. Very dark, moody, a lot of jagged, heavy black lines, a lot of shading, which just really fits this issue perfectly. Other than Hellboy, this issue is very dark. I would say this issue is about as dark as Krampusnacht, the winter special that Hellboy had a few years ago, which is fantastic. If you haven't read that, I read it every Christmas because it's just so good. Immediately, Hellboy enters the house and sees that everything is in disarray and something is not right. And they start talking to the housewife, who's in hushed tones, and she's obviously scared. They are hearing her mother barking orders and things like that from the back of the house. And I don't want to spoil anything, but they go through different members of the family. Where's your husband? And, she talks about her husband for a minute, and then something is disturbingly revealed about her husband, as well as her son. And her son, it turns out, and this is the only spoiler I give you, her son was the one who found this book. And it threw her entire family into disarray. And I'm not going to say too much more, but I am going to say that this book is probably one of the best one-shots I have read in the last 5 years. I am super biased. I love Hellboy, but with, being as fair as I possibly can, I think it's just a very well done story. Mike Mignola knows how to tell short stories very, very well. And if you give him 24 pages just to tell one story, he's going to knock it out of the park. He does it here. The art team that surrounds him is fantastic. It adds to the mood. You're going to absolutely love the monster in this book. It is so cool looking. As a creator, it inspires me, and Hellboy in general inspires me. So if you love horror comics, if you love superhero comics, if you love just spooky stories, I mean, we're getting into the spooky season. This is a perfect book to pick up. It just came out this week. I would give this book a solid 9 out of 10.
Very cool. Very cool. And it was good to hear the name Chris Robeson again, because he wrote several issues of Superman just before Flashpoint.
Yeah, I think he's teamed
Or
up
before,
with Mike Mignola quite a bit lately. Yeah.
He's a good writer. He's a really good writer.
He's a very good writer. And Mike Mignola will unashamedly tell you he hates writing dialogue. He absolutely hates it. He loves coming up with the big story. He's a story guy. He's like George Lucas, except when he does write dialogue, he can actually do it very well. George Lucas, not so much. But he and George Lucas are both masterful storytellers. Mike just hires out finds a very excellent writer to actually do the details throughout the story as well. So, again, can't talk about it enough. It's great. Go get it.
Excellent. And Mike Mignola, if you're watching, and Ted Davies said Hellboy, and then went into a dead faint, and Chrissy is trying to revive him even now. And it's going to take a half hour to get the silly smile off his face. I just know this. So anyway, that is great. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Yeah. And then I tell you, I'll go next, and then we will have Clyde Hall.
Clyde the Show Hall.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. We're just the preliminary bouts. He's the flaming barbed wire cage match.
I'm a flaming something. I don't know why. That's up for debate. I tell you.
Well, we are master debaters on this show. So anyway, I'll go on from there. One day, guys, you'll just laugh anyway. But. Well, as usual, I just can't talk about just one comic. Oh, no, I have to make it complicated. And, Ted, you'll love it. It's mostly DC. But anyway, this guy, I didn't get this last week. I did get it this week. Very, very good. A real turning point for the duo there. Superman, the Authority. Lots of good touches in here. Grant Morrison, for all of his wild ideas, really has a handle on, like, the things that make old classic legacy characters work, and this is no exception. And plus, they bring back an old enemy, 2 old enemies, and it makes perfect sense. Why? And you're like, why didn't this happen before? And of course, I have to give this I hate this issue because there's only one more left in the series. Yeah, seriously, this is a fun read, and it takes everything, just like Joe's Mr. Miracle, takes everything that's happened so far, and you can see it's coming to a head in the next issue, and I want more. And of course, this came out this week. Sam Hamm, he's as good at writing comics as he is writing movies, and this is exceptional. But for the pick of the week, for me, we don't often review, and I think sometimes we kind of ignore, like, real books, like the trade paperbacks or the hardcovers that come out. And one thing that distresses me about a lot of modern fandom is they just don't know the rich history of comics. And I'm not talking about knowing the minutiae of the medium, but just the overall course of certain characters. Like, I've told it many times. I got in a heated argument with a checkout clerk at the local supermarket because he was saying that Superman stunk. Well, that was a debate right there. But Superman stunk because they're not doing him the way he was when he was created by John Byrne. So,
no.
True story. Yeah. But anyway,
Superman, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, if you're going to get in a debate with anyone about that character, I'm the wrong guy to do it with, okay? Because we go nuclear from the onset. But anyway, DC has put out a number of great retrospectives on their amazing characters, whether it's the 100-page giants like the recent Aquaman and Green Arrow, or the large deluxe hardcovers that they've done for like Superman and Batman. Well, if you're going to do Superman, Batman, you have to have the other leg of the trilogy, or the Trinity, and that's Wonder Woman. This is Wonder Woman, 80 Years of the Amazon Warrior, the deluxe edition, and deluxe this is. It's a $30 book, but it's worth every penny. First, you start out with a beautiful Jim Lee and Scott Williams cover. And this book actually, also you get a peek at all the logos she's had over the years, which I find fascinating. But this book actually encompasses the Amazon Princess from her first appearances in 1941 in All-Star Comics #8 and Sensation Comics #1 in 1941, through the Warriors, through the Henry G. Peter artwork, and William Marston adventures, including one that had not seen print during her original run and was only revealed in the late 60s. And then the changeover with Robert Kanigher and Ross Andrew and Mike Esposito, who worked on the book for years. Some of it sillier than some others, I will say. But here's... and then they also have the when they tried to bring back the original look of Wonder Woman in the mid-60s, just before she lost her powers. And they have a special story in here, never been reprinted, with art by Dick Giordano, and edited by Denny O'Neil, who wrote a number of Wonder Woman stories, and written by Samuel R. Delaney, the science fiction author. He actually did 3 issues of it, which is really beautiful to see. And then it's followed up with her getting her powers back and the origin of Nubia by Carrie Bates and Don Heck and Vince Colletta. And then it goes through various portions of her history, like when she was worked on by Roy Thomas and Gene Colan, through the George Perez years. There's a Jill Thompson story in here. Greg Rucka. One of my favorite stories by Phil Jimenez. Of course, it would have something to do with You-Know-Who. Okay, and her meeting with Lois Lane. And this goes on up to the current day, including Future State Immortal Wonder Woman 1 and 2. This is a huge book. There are... There's got to be over 300 pages here. This has got a lot of good stuff on semi-glossy paper. Let's look at I should have looked at this first. But, it's over 400 pages of comic book goodness from various portions of her life. I would have liked to have seen more from the Unpowered era, particularly Mike Sikowski, who drew and wrote those issues, as well as more from Jerry Conway, who wrote the series for several years before the crisis, and a couple other runs that I thought were or the 12 Trials of Wonder Woman, when she first got her powers back and was trying to earn her way back onto the Justice League. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of that in here, but there's also interviews with Gal Gadot, Patty Jenkins, Trina Robbins, who was a big proponent in getting Diana her powers back in the early 70s, and Linda Carter. Brief interviews with them. This is a wealth of Wonder Woman joy. It genuinely celebrates the great history behind this character. And while my choices would have added maybe another 100 pages to it, for $30, this is a hell of a good bargain here. I mean, seriously, that's a lot of comic reading there. And if you like Wonder Woman at all and want to know more about her, this is a great book for you. I give this, for me, this is a 10 out of 10. And I think it should, if you like Wonder Woman, this should be in your library, because it is a wonderful, wonderful book. It tells her various origins, etc. You'll learn more about the Amazon Princess after reading this than you knew before. So that is my review of Wonder Woman.
A couple of questions about that book, because it's not in my library yet, and you know how much of a fan I am.
That's why I asked you, that's why I cleared it with you before the show.
Because I didn't know that book was coming out. I saw a different book, which was like the reprintings of stuff from Italy that I was trying to track down and get.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And I was thinking about that book, but I wasn't sure that about this one. But is that book solely about Diana? Because during that time frame of the 80 years, there have been multiple Wonder Womans that everyone talked about. So just like, did they talk about Orana? Did they talk about Artemis? Did they talk about?
And that's a good point. They did not have Artemis in here, although Bill Messner-Loeb's does have a story in here, but it is not an Artemis story. In fact, it's the one where she gets that job in the taco restaurant,
right?
And they didn't get the one I would have liked, which was you see, and also Brian Boland is represented.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, and so her new job is she's working at Taco Wiz. And like, I think it's the issue after this, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, she treats her job like it's a test of her Amazon skills. So like, she's assembling tacos while blindfolded and tries to get them done as quickly as possible to keep up with demand. Lee Motor did the art for that. It's really nice. And
so we never had biker version of Diana because of losing the mantle to Artemis.
Right.
We don't have the confrontation with Orana, who took over the mantle back in like the late 70s.
Right, and we don't have like a whole lot of like Donna Troy, Wonder Girl. Although they do have a story in here, with Wonder Woman, Wonder Tot, and Wonder Girl and Hippolyta.
They talk about the family. No, that's the first time they talk about the Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
That issue.
Yeah. So, and they have Merboy in here, which
my favorite.
Yeah, everyone's favorite. Where they tried to turn Wonder Woman into a romance comic.
Yeah, save yourself, Wonder Girl. I'll be okay.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't need Steve Trevor. I've got a guy with flippers. But and she's like, there was a period for like about a year or two where in her book she was like, yeah, I like Steve Trevor, but I'm also being pursued by a Merboy and an Eagle Boy, and it was getting very, very soap opera-ish. But
dealing with her younger years, yes.
Yeah. Oh, and they also have the story in here by Roy Thomas and Gene Colan where they change her emblem from like the eagle across her bustier to the twin W's. For the big reason that is unstated in there is that you can't trademark the eagle, but you can trademark that unique WW. So, but they don't say that. But anyway, but no, I think it was a great representation of the various eras of Wonder Woman, and it shows you why it was not one of DC's best sellers for a number of years. Because it's good dumb fun. It's good dumb fun.
From Marston to Perez, there were so many changes that it was just like you would get so confused.
Yeah.
Like the original Giganta.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the original Giganta went from being a redhead to being a blonde to being a redhead bodybuilder.
Right. Yeah, and was it the Cheetah has gone through several iterations, and then you had like, I loved the Mike Sikowski era where she didn't have her powers because he just said screw all that continuity.
I call it the I Ching era.
Yeah, the I Ching era.
And they were interesting. Those stories was interesting because it forced her to be more of a detective.
Yeah.
And to learn martial arts even so much better because she doesn't have the strength to rely on.
Right. Yeah. Although she did have some, I remember she had a few issues that did not age well. Like, oh my gosh, I'm an Amazon. I'm lost in man's world. I know. Let's go shopping for clothing. Yeah.
And like that turned a lot of people. Gloria Steinem had a field day with that.
Oh yeah, she. That's why I think that's one of the reasons why she and Trina Robbins lobbied so much for the return of the classic Wonder Woman.
Now, was that the era that Denny O'Neil was editor?
No, just before.
Yeah,
before?
Denny
Okay.
actually wrote the first. He dialogued the first couple of episodes of the Mike Sekowsky run after he'd come
Okay.
off Justice League of America, and he was like part of a new regime where they got rid of some of the longtime editors,
Mhm.
and they installed artists like Dick
Yeah.
Giordano and Joe Orlando and Mike Sekowsky and several others. So, and then O'Neill came in after that. He wrote a few of them. He edited the 3 by Samuel R. Delaney, including 2 with licensed editions of Fawford and the Grey Mouser by Fritz Lieber, which were pretty good. And Joe, do you have something to show us? Or
Yeah, I was just wondering, did they include the four issue limited series that Trina Robbins did?
Yeah, with Kurt Busiek. No, they didn't, and they should have. I wouldn't have minded seeing one of those because that really captured the classic Wonder Woman, as far as I was concerned,
Right.
without some of the dumb stuff and the overwhelming bondage influence. So,
Because
So,
that was like one of the few series that she actually drew herself. She wrote and drew it herself, and she had people to back her up on.
oh yeah, that was a good thing. Well, the thing is, if they got like everybody's favorite stuff in there, like I said, this book would be about the size of the LA Business Directory,
Exactly.
and I'd have bought it. I really would have bought it. It would have been
$300.
So,
Cookie would have killed you.
yeah, sold to the idiot and the Fez. Anyway, but no, it was just a really worthwhile book as far as I was concerned. And they're, like I said, they're never going to capture, especially old time fans like me. They're never going to capture all the magic moments. But I wouldn't have minded if they tried, because Diana really did have some really super adventures that did not get into this book. And they of course, naturally being around for 80 years, they've got enough material to do another book if they wanted.
But that's the thing about her 80 years. Her 80 years was not solely about 100% her, and that's what I'm kind of disappointed about.
Yeah, that's true. But I would think to a lot of modern buyers, they would be like, well, then again, Artemis is completely different. I think the way she is now, like appearing in what was it, Red Hood and the Outlaws, from the way she was back in the day in Wonder Woman. But yeah, and also John Byrne did a 3-year run on that. That was really quite good. Doing his best to fix some of the continuity. So,
but you can't get away from Wonder Woman without talking about key characters like Etta Candy.
Yes, Etta Candy does show up in this one. In the one that was printed in the 90s, she and the girls do appear in that one. But yeah, there's naturally a lot of ground to cover. But they did it without going into, because there are some episodes of Wonder Woman that, like Superman and Batman, have been reprinted to death, and they managed to avoid a lot of that here. I'm glad to say. So I'm thinking it's a good book, especially for $30.
A really cool thing. I'm hesitant to add it to my pull box because of how expensive it is. But I just saw that later this year they will be releasing a big omnibus of the Tomb of Dracula.
Yes.
I saw that.
So
yes,
I really, really want it, but I'm gonna have to save some money for that one. So I think it ended up being like $75 or something. But it's like a hardback, special edition omnibus of the Tomb of Dracula. So.
Oh God, yeah. And what is it? Now Clyde knows one. Or we've mentioned on the show in the past, Captain Action. They're going to reprint the 5-issue Captain Action series from DC.
Oh, I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
And that's another one. It's not going to be horribly priced, but yeah, the Tomb of Dracula is arguably one of the best horror series ever done. Yeah, there we go, Clyde. Clyde's got it there.
And in what is it? Issue 17 is the introduction of Blade.
Yes.
Or issue 17. I can't remember which one.
And issue 50 has an appearance by the Silver Surfer.
Yep.
There's a story behind that, of course, and. There's just all kinds of great stuff. Some good writing. Jerry Conway, Gardner Fox. I think Archie Goodwin did a couple. Then Marv Wolfman did the rest of the series.
Oh,
Gene
Marv
Colan.
Wolfman.
Gene Colan penciled all of them.
Oh yeah, excellent. And I mean, as a horror fiend of especially the old Universal classics,
Yeah.
I think the way he draws Dracula really was, I think, straight from the Hammer horror films. Really.
Yeah, I think he was kind of sort of modeling it after a movie that was out at the time with Jack Palance of all.
Was it? Yeah, I think it was Jack Palance, because I
Yeah.
was thinking for some reason it was the Frank Langella one, but I think that was much later.
That was much later than this.
Yeah,
In fact,
yeah.
I think the series had ended by the time Langella did his Dracula, which
I
again,
think you're right.
that's iconic. That's a great
Oh, yeah.
interpretation.
Palance did the TV version, and I want to say PBS, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was PBS.
But was it okay? And then
Yeah.
he also did a very good, I thought, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Oh, I've not seen that.
Yeah, look it up. They did a real saturnine kind of look for him as Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
That as a kid just creeped me out. No end. It was not monstrous. It was just so evil. And you look at it now, you're like, it's very Pan, very, very much like a twisted Pan version.
Yeah.
And Palance, I mean, he looked perfect for that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff here. And Ace Bonnie is saying, hi, Brian is talking about how big his book is. 400 pages plus, baby. And Taco making Wonder Woman style. That's right. And Cindy Kep, CKOEPB.com. Please check out her website and her great newsletter. And also go to Bear Publications and pick up that amazing Animal Line #1 comic. She's wonderful. And let's see. And Carl, thank you very much. I appreciate your helping. I really do. And thank you, Ace. I appreciate that too. Anyway, so
I hope that's in the book.
Oh no, it isn't. I don't believe it is.
I just recently picked this one up not too long ago, and this is the first Silver Age version of Cheetah.
Yes, that's right. Yes, but no, it is not in this book. I'm double checking.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, see, there again, there was more stuff that could have gone in here, but it didn't make it. So very cool. So, and good job, Carl. I agree, Donna. Thank you very much, Carl. I appreciate all your help. Carl is our backup admin here. So we were taking care of some unpleasantness. Anyway, so I guess that leaves us to where we sit in humble contemplation of the words yet to come. No pressure, Clyde.
Luna's ready. Luna's ready for bedtime. Oh, her bedtime story.
There we go. Yeah, read her a story, would you, Clyde?
Upon a time, there was a cat. Well, she's out of here. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. She's like, no, never mind. I show you my behind.
That's right. That's
Why
right.
don't you get down? What's wrong with you?
And Brian's like, I already work with buttholes, I don't need one more. So yeah. So anyway, someone who is not that is Clyde Hall, and I know he's going to have some great review here. So Clyde, take it away.
All right. Well, everybody's talked about kind of their passion projects, passion titles tonight, and I got to admit, I have a real interest in this title that I'm going to review, but I'm also critical of it because of that. Probably more critical than some of the others tonight, and we'll get into why. But let's look at what we have on tap. It is Seven Swords #3 from Aftershock Comics. The cover price $3.99, written by Evan Doherty. The art is by Federico Dallaccio. Colors by Valentina Biancani, and letters by Dave Sharp. It is rated M for mature. Aftershock, but it is not a horror comic. So that is kind of unique amongst things from Aftershock. This is the cover. Let me show you the other covers. This is the third issue. So the first cover really got my attention. I thought this was, it's a swashbuckler type story. Very cool. The second one I thought was clever, but really wouldn't have got my attention. I don't think it's clever. It does relate to the story inside well, but it wasn't a real attention grabber. But this one is okay. Again, the covers could do a lot more, I think, than they're allowed to do so far. So that's one of my slight peeves against it. It's supposed to be a swashbuckling epic, so I don't know. They look sort of calm for that to me. But on the interior art, we have some very nice era. We're talking about the late 1500s and the early 1600s when this is set. So set piece with palaces. There's a very impressive backstory of one of the characters told as a scrimshaw carving. That was kind of cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Nice device. We have an action on the high seas splash page with ships, tall-masted ships. And then we have the Seven Swords in issue 3 finally all together. So
Nice.
let's get into, it's it has a lot going for it. It's very it has a lot of ambition and it fulfills some of it. So it's not a horror comic. It's that's a genre that, by the way, is represented well and often by Aftershock this last year, but it does have some supernatural bent about it. In Seven Swords, Cardinal Richelieu, the nemesis of Alexandre Dumas' Three Musketeers, has outlived many of his opponents, often by seeing to their demise himself, but his lust for power has taken a decidedly cursed turn. His agents have quested halfway around the earth in search of items holding otherworldly might. Not the Ark of the Covenant, and not the Holy Grail, and not a complete set of Sankara stones or a crystal skull, but you get the idea. His forces went down to the Amazon. They were looking for a relic to steal. Their boss was in a bind. His youth was far behind, and Richelieu was looking to make a deal. Word spreads among his remaining enemies that the Cardinal may have found a key to immortality and dominion over mankind. One of his foes, the bitter and aged D'Artagnan, is recruited to assemble 7 of the most proficient swordsmen and swordswomen of the day to thwart the sinful Cardinal's ploy. Now, these worthies include D'Artagnan, Cyrano de Bergerac, Sister Catalina de Eralso, La Maupin, Captain and Dr. Peter Blood, and Don Juan. The Seventh Sword, introduced only in this issue to firm up the roster, appears to be a former thief named Ahmed, a man rescued from the streets of Baghdad by an ancient order called the Broken Brothers. Here's a small pet peeve about the book. Folks here are talking about the title, and overall it's been kind of quiet, so I'm not really sure how big of a readership is lining up behind it, but they refer to it as a story teaming literary swordsmen and other fictional characters, and that is true. But not all of the characters of the swords are purely fictional. Cyrano de Bergerac was a French novelist, a playwright, and a duelist. But his life was also made into a play, so equally historical and fictional in a sense. Julie Debany is better known as Mademoiselle Maupin, or La Maupin, was a 17th century opera singer. Little is known for certain about her life. Her tumultuous career and her flamboyant lifestyle were the subject of gossip and rumor and colorful stories in her own time, and she inspired numerous fictional and semi-fictional portrayals. Sister Catalina de Eralso was a real nun who spent much of her life as a male soldier and adventurer, using such name variations as Antonio de Eralso, and in Spain and its colonies, Lamonia Alferez. Her adventures were published as semi-biographical accounts, which may have had heavy infusions of fiction as well. And Cardinal Richelieu, the main antagonist of the piece, while portrayed fictionally in many works, including Dumas' The Three Musketeers, was also a real historical figure, and a controversial one that historians have argued about passionately since the 1600s. So Seven Swords is a crossover comic tapping into a similar creative vein as The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and Penny Dreadful, but these characters from the late 16th and early 17th centuries are perhaps less well known than their Victorian era counterparts. In things like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And while ideally this series may change that for the better, teaching readers about these historic and fictional personages, it may also lack the teeth to grab reader attention with its concept. When the movie version of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen came out, several friends were talking about what fictional work this Dorian Gray character was from and who Alan Quatermain was. And these are even more, removed from modern day. So in issue number 3 of Seven Swords, though, the group meets Captain Blood, and together they rescue an important prisoner from an iron mask from the Bastille.
Cool.
Very cool.
It is cool, but it makes for the best jaw-dropping final page of any Seven Swords issue yet. And I won't give it away, but there's a lot being played with the fictional elements here, and it's those are the moments that this makes it worthwhile for everything else that sometimes hits, sometimes misses with this title. Evan Dougherty has penned a story which takes its sweet time arriving at a destination, but it makes for a memorable trip. As someone who enjoys blends of fiction and history, I appreciate the amount of research that he has done and the detail he's used creating the narrative so far. I come across the mention of a character, and I like history, but some of these I had to go, who is this? who is Sister Catalina? And okay. So I like that about it. It wouldn't be everybody's cup, but I do appreciate it. He's given each of the characters distinct outlooks, and he's presented their widely divergent personalities well. His Cyrano, in particular, whether he's trying to convince a barber to cut off just a Scotia nose to respite his face, or insulting ruffians so sharply that they don't realize how cut to the quick his words have left them. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to read it. Story-wise, though, the plot flows unevenly, and he's taken all 3 of the first issues to create a sensible canvas establishing who everyone is and the looming threat, uniting them, even having to do the Scrimshaw bit, which is very clever, but it was just one more exposition than they couldn't afford. So they did that. It's a clever way to do it, but a lot of exposition. There has been some action, but for those who want story development at a more modern pace, their personal devils may high center at the rate of details revealed here. Life was slower in the days of yore, so maybe that's an intentional pace. By the same token, some readers are going to love all the trouble that Dougherty's gone to getting these dissimilar characters from different locales together. For others, it's a swashbuckling adventure story with supernatural overtones, but if they don't care about who's swashing the buckles, it may seem only a median historical romp with swordplay. The narrative tries to satisfy both kinds of readers like that, but may fall short for one or the other. Artist Federico Dell'Occhio takes the reins of this issue from Riccardo Latina, but their styles are so compatible, readers may not notice. At least one online reviewer didn't, because he credited Latina with continuing his fine work on this book. The work deserves that credit, though, because he matches the clean and expressive line work of issues 1 and 2 masterfully. The scenes of 3 are less action-oriented than those in the first issues, with more discussions and character interactions. And the latter are numerous enough to actually limit the action sequences allowed. And since some of that is on the high seas with those masted ships, that feels like an opportunity missed. Maybe they'll catch up later on as the series continues. I hope so. Colorist Valentina Bianconti may be the secret weapon in keeping the look of the title so consistent despite different artists. She also deserves praise for letting the shadows add a mystery and depth to those discussion panels. Dave Sharp's lettering bestows the right levels of tone and urgency in the rare action sequences this issue, and he brings along the needed sound effects of explosions and cannon fire Eric would approve. For students of history and for classical literature, the potential team-up central to Seven Swords, along with its attention to character personalities, real and fictional, it's the stuff that dreams are made from. For that niche audience, there'll be things that they like here. For others, it may seem overly sedate and involved for a sword-slinging tale of antiquity's high adventure. The art and the words are getting better with each issue. They're gelling more solidly, but they started rough with issue 1, and they still feel like they're getting their sea legs during number 3. It's a great concept, and I'm a niche, one of the niche who will keep coming back for more. But with that said, my score for Seven Swords number 3 is 7 out of 10.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, who's the writer on that?
That is Evan Dougherty.
Okay.
Evan
Okay.
Dougherty.
Okay, I'm not familiar
And-
with his work. I may have to be. I've seen that on the stands, and I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it as well. And Clyde, do you know, is this going to be like, is it like a mini series or is it an ongoing?
That's what I was trying to find out. Everything looks like it's an ongoing. I don't see anything that
Okay.
says, number 3 of 12 or number 3 of 4.
Right.
So I guess they can take their time,
Yeah.
to develop it. It's just that first issue. I'm like, I like history, and I don't know. I don't know who and what. And I mean, you just drop two panels in out of nowhere, and I'd be going.
Yeah. See,
I don't know
I'm a
these
slow
characters.
burn guy if it's an ongoing series with purpose.
Right.
If it's just let's just leisurely go through this story. And, here's the ending. I hate that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
me
really
too.
hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I will mention, there's another book I'd like to just mention in passing real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. What?
No, go ahead, because the question I'm going to ask
Okay.
is going to take some time anyway.
Kelly Guttner did a review of this on her back issue Breakfast Club, and it's a young adult book called Whistle from DC, and I'm about halfway through, but she gave it very high praise, and it's been a pleasure to read. In fact, I haven't read all of my new comics yet because I'm working on it. It's pretty thick, so I'm working on it, but it is worth checking out. It came out, I think, last week, so
Very cool.
I think it's a mention.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Yes,
nice.
Joe.
Yes, Joe, please.
Now you mentioned it's akin to League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which I read several times over.
Mhm.
Do you wonder if the writer for this book just didn't really play up the characters to their counterparts in history accurately? Because the way that League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the way that the writers did it there, it's like they put them in a position of what they was known for. When you saw Jack the Ripper, you saw when you saw Madame Curie, you saw Madame Curie doing what she was known for.
Right.
And it's like you mentioned D'Artagnan. It's like, a musketeer.
Mhm.
That's an automatic. Let him go on this off the wall adventure, and then all of a sudden he comes back, and it's like he's now getting his new instructions and everything after being regaled as such a great hero and stuff like that, and bringing all the other characters in the light of what they are mainly known for.
Okay. I think for the most part, the characterization of Cyrano as a satirist and a wit, I think is very, very strong. D'Artagnan, it makes sense. He's the last of the Musketeers, and Richelieu's still in power. I could see him coming back from basically retirement, very bitter. I think that's accurate. La Maupin is... I didn't find anything in her history that said that she was actually a swordswoman, but she was a performer. She was a street performer, and was known to get in brawls and to fight. I think maybe with some of the female characters. The former nun, the sister Catalina, she was a warrior and did go on adventures and came to the New World. So that seems feasible that she could be a sword slinger. So I think he's trying to. I saw that he took like the time frames that they were supposed to be, that he played a little loosely with, I think. Some of them might have been a little older than what they're portrayed here, or their careers really blossomed later on. And we don't get the feeling that they're really young at this time necessarily. So that seemed had to be kind of shoehorned to make it fit just right. But the best I know, they're pretty good. They're pretty accurate.
So you mentioned someone in the Iron Mask.
Yes.
Are they true to that story?
It is not the same kind of story.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I need to know.
Because the things that we've read about them, those have happened.
Right.
The Man in the Iron Mask tale has been told already. And apparently there may not have been only one person in an Iron Mask.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It may have been part of the
by
punishment.
Thaddeus Brown.
But it was one of those moments when they're working on the mask, and I'm like, Because I thought the same thing. I'm like, well, is this
Yeah.
going to be who we? No. Oh my. Well, that puts a spin on things.
Because I love Alexander Dumas, so like
Mhm.
I really
Yeah.
I think I need to get this series now.
Good. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it would be very,
my
very.
interest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's satisfying
go.
if you like those kinds of things. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Joe. What'd you say?
I said it did pique my interest because I do grab books that are more like that, if, especially fictional historical characters.
Thank you for joining us on Masterpiece Theater. I'm your host. Alice
Yeah,
Cooper.
Tonight on We Use Words,
And it doesn't have a lot of coverage out there, so I thought give it a little bump, because I think that it's one of those you're either going to really like or you'll be lukewarm about. But
Yeah.
it's worth
Okay.
checking out.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's one of the purposes of the show, is to guide people to your local comic book shop. And if you don't see it on their racks, please ask them to order it, because in many cases, their distributor, and call them Legion now, for there are many, they can possibly order it, or you can get it from the creator's website, or you can get it off of Comixology. You have options. So please check them. Please check out what we get here, because what we're talking about here, because we try to review books that have been released within the last 30 days, so that you all can expand your comic book library and your tastes as well that you like. So, and thank you again, Carl Witzman, for your helpful duty earlier. We don't need anyone posting stupid stuff here. We can make our own.
Yep.
Indeed.
That should be like the credo of the show. And Sarah, we keep forgetting too, but we're glad you're here. Mwah. Hope you're doing well tonight. Everyone's saying hello to each other. So we got a little time. Who wants to bring up something for?
You know what really grinds my gears?
What really grinds your gears, Brian?
When Fortnite steals from creators. That's what really grinds my gears. Because apparently they do it a freaking lot. I didn't know this because I don't know anything about Fortnite really up until the last week.
Yeah.
But there is a wonderful, ridiculous comic book series called Warcorns by a colleague of ours, rather, Garrett Gunn, and it is so ridiculously wonderful. It's a bunch of muscle-bound unicorn human hybrids that just with machine guns that go out and they're going on missions and things like that. And last week or early this week, I'm not sure which, Fortnite dropped their new characters, and they are a carbon copy of Garrett Gunn's Warcorn characters. And a bunch of us who immediately recognized what was happening, took to social media, whatever good it did, but we didn't care. We were going to be noisy about it because it's not right. It's not okay. And in doing some mild research, I found that apparently Fortnite steals from everybody and just kind of hopes they don't say anything. And I didn't know this. Yeah, apparently, like they just steal other people's ideas, throw them in the game, and then they only last for about a month or so, and then they switch it up again with something else. So, but yeah, no, that's been my sassy, throwing a fit on social media thing here this week, which I don't do normally. I don't normally throw fits on social media, but this was worth it. It was worth my time and harassing others.
I'd agree with you. That's
worth grinding gears over. Trust me.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. It does it for CM Davenport and Eric Hawkins. That sounds a lot like Bronies. And that's all messed up. And that post brought out a bunch of previous issues. So yeah.
So do they have enough evidence to get a whole bunch of creators together and take them to court?
Last I heard, Apple just went to court with Fortnite over some stuff. I mean, this is not just like independent comic book level stuff. Fortnite's getting into a lot of trouble. And if they keep it up, I hope they just get sued out of existence. That'd be great. The problem is there's so many, which I have encountered the Fortnite crazies this week trying to just defend it, be like, oh, he should just be thankful that Fortnite came down from their high Olympus mountain to pick up his characters. And I was like, what is wrong with you? Like, they're stealing characters from creators, and you're just like cool with it. And you're just like, get over it. Stop. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it. It's like there's such thing called licensing. It's called getting paid for your hard work.
Exactly.
Somebody else can take a look at it, and if they use it, if they use it and they make billions, and it doesn't come back and filter it back to me in some form, some fashion, even like $100 to say thank you or something, that's something wrong.
Yeah,
or
just
at least a backlink or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and from what I've read, they don't even acknowledge who they're stealing from. Like, they don't give a nod, they don't give a thank you, they don't give a shout out to, hey, check this out, this is where this is inspired by, or whatever. Nothing. It's just they just introduce these characters, and they don't care who says what.
Exactly. Well, and that's and Carl Witzman, pick up his characters without paying you. That's it. And kids today expect everything for free. Sarah asks, is Fortnite a publisher? Now, is that the name of the company or just the name of the game?
Fortnite's the name of the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it? Epic is the creator of Fortnite?
I think that's right. Yeah. So.
And Cindy Kep says Apple might just have the resources to afford more justice than Fortnite. Yeah.
Well, apparently that just ended. I think Apple won, but it wasn't. I don't know. I didn't read all the details to it. A lot of people brought it up, in the comments section of different places that me and others were talking about this in. And so I'll have to do a little bit more research as to exactly what it was about. But just knowing that Fortnite got in enough trouble for Apple to sue them, means maybe somebody, at Epic should, I don't know, maybe come up with their own stuff for once. Hire some of these people instead of, and to create original content for your games instead of just stealing stuff from people and getting in trouble.
Yeah, the big crossovers with the DC characters, the Trinity that they put out with Fortnite.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm sure they didn't do that with Warner Communications.
No,
No.
Because they would have gotten sued out of existence.
Yeah. And CM Davenport says they're losing subscribers. They have to do something. And Epic Games is for it, right? Thank you, Ace Bonnie. Much appreciated. Well, that's the thing. In a lot of industries, and I've heard of this in comics too, that when somebody plagiarizes something, and this is just what this is pure out theft, there are consequences. Yeah. I remember hearing from friends who were in the industry that back in the, I think it's the late 70s, that there was an artist who was drawing a science fiction series for a major publisher, and everyone was marveling at the design work that he was showing. And then one day he went into the editorial office and said, yeah, here's the animation cell from the Japanese cartoon I took it from. And they told him, do you have any personal belongings here? We'll go get a cardboard box.
Yeah. So, well, I know, and I don't know, as a creator over the last 6 years, the thing that I have learned more and more, the thing that makes me most mad, it's up there with, creators who manipulate others and don't wear sleeves on their shirts. It's stealing, just blatantly stealing other people's artwork to masquerade it as your own. At Comic Cons, you see it a lot, and I'm not even really talking about fan art. Fan art's a whole other discussion. I've heard arguments on both sides for fan art, but just, literally, we were at a Comic Con one time where a guy took Jim Lee's art. And spray painted just random stuff on it, like Xeroxed his art, spray painted stuff, and sold it as his own. He got kicked out of that Comic-Con, which it was Cincinnati Comic Expo. I was really proud of them for doing that.
If that's the same person I am aware of, then I've done shows with that person too. Wizard World also banned him from all their shows.
Good, yeah.
And they should.
So, absolutely, and there should be zero tolerance for stuff like that. in any industry, but especially in the comic book industry with the new renaissance of indie creators coming in and barely making a buck for their stuff. Don't steal from them. What kind of low life actually does that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's and this goes back to what I was saying earlier about a lot of fans don't bother to educate themselves because I know the person you're talking about, Brian, and I remember going through his stuff and he's like, yeah, this is all my own stuff, and I'm like, no, that's Jim Lee from The Authority, that's Will Portacio, that's Neil Adams. The only thing you've done is you filtered out their signature, and that was it. That just makes me nuts. And a lot of people, or I shouldn't say a lot of people, most people I think know better, but there are a decided number of people that think that, and this may be due to the internet not being able to police itself, but they think that all IPs are theirs to use. Yeah, like I was contacted by somebody. They said, well, I want to write a graphic novel and I'm going to put Volcana in it. And I said, okay, fine, I will send you over a contract. And he's like, well, what do you want to do that for? And I'm like, well, I'm going to want certain things. Like I want to have a say in how she's portrayed. I'm going to want some sort of payment for, well, why do you want to do that? We're going to give you exposure, and it's like, no, even at that time, I've got more people who have bought my book than will ever buy your comic. Yeah. So, aside from the fact that this is out and out theft, and of course, then they decide they didn't want to do it after all.
It's funny how that works. Huh.
I know, especially when I drop the word lawyer into it.
Yeah. Yeah. People like that really don't like the words contract or, work, like lawyer, things like that. Any legal terms that they could get caught up in. And it's just like, oh, I'm not interested anymore. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, it's just more along the lines like the internet hates the legal term of fair use.
Yeah.
People don't understand what fair use is. It's like, oh, I saw a picture of this comic. I like this picture. I want to put it onto, my desktop and have it as a desktop, picture. That's fine.
Yeah.
Now I want to take this and I'm going to add this, and this, and now I'm going to sell it. It's like, no, you can't do that. That's not fair use. You have to get rights and privileges to do that.
Yeah.
I know exactly who you're referring to, and I know other artists that are like that. And they want to try to get around the legalized loophole of alteration as being the way that it was altered is their artwork. However, the thing about it is that they have to also cite the right that they have a licensing agreement with the original IP owner.
At best, it has to be a partnership where the other party gets, their money for whatever it's, whatever. First of all, money for licensing to use the character, to use the image to begin with, and then whatever the sales are, they get a cut. And if that's not happening, it's theft.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And the problem is also there is a segment of fandom that supports this sort of thing.
Oh, yes.
And they think it's like everything ought to be in the public domain or something, which it's not.
Yeah. Well, it's also people that they like to throw a fit. They'll be like, if you're an artist and you sell your work, you're not really an artist. You just like money. It's like, no.
Both.
Right. I was like, the world it runs on money. If I want to eat food,
no, not today.
Yeah, it's like if I want to eat food that costs money, I need to make money, and I want to do this thing to give to you so you can give me money. And that's how the world works. And it's just people that don't, most of those people are living on employment in somebody's basement. So
now here's the other legal term that most people don't know, and I'm doing this more for education purposes here.
Sure.
People need to understand what is considered a one-off. So if people who say, oh, this stuff should be fine, a one-off means that is just a one unique piece that is not meant to be sold or to be, used in any other type of avenue other than for your own personal use.
Yeah.
But yet people are using that one-off thing to get around some of these licensing deals that they're supposed to have and contracts that they're supposed to have, because it's a knockoff, it's a one-off. They're not going to, complain about the one-off that I made when they got all these other merchants making, equivalent thing. It's like they care about that one-off. When you start making millions of dollars off of it, oh yeah, they're coming after you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, right now I know there's and this is just going back to just fan art and stuff. People that have made their entire careers on, they have entire Etsy shops. They're making hundreds and thousands of dollars off of works that they didn't create. It's other people's characters. And there are now headhunters going through Etsy looking for this stuff, and they will report these Etsy accounts to whoever whoever owns these characters. And then they shut Etsy. They will get in touch with Etsy, or the headhunters will get in touch with the company. The company will then come at Etsy. Etsy will shut it down immediately.
Same with
and
Amazon
people are,
too.
oh yeah,
Amazon.
yeah, and people, I've read, huge threads of creators who are devastated because this is what they make their living off of, and now it's gone. Which I feel for them, but at the same time, you've got to know this stuff's going to catch up with you. You can't go out and make Mickey Mouse pillows and expect Disney not to come after you. And
this is the thing. After going to San Diego for several years and seeing through this whole all these panels dealing with fan art and understanding the legal aspect of it, once you have to sit through one of those things, you would have to double think about putting fan art out there for it to be sold.
Absolutely.
Because at any given time, and depends on which character too.
Yep.
It could be the end of your career and the end of your finances.
Yep.
Depending on which company comes after you.
Yep.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
No, I decided from the get-go in 2015, I knew if I wanted to, I could draw pictures of Batman and Hellboy and make money at Comic-Cons. But first of all, that's not what I wanted to do. I love those characters. They're two of my favorite comic book characters of all time. But I wanted to make my thing. And yeah, I didn't make as much money right out the gate because of that. But I built up to it because that's what you're supposed to do. And, eventually, if people pay enough attention and that your stuff's good, you'll get better and more things will come and that'll be great. But if all you're doing is sitting there drawing other people's stuff, first of all, no matter how beautiful it looks, no matter how much talent you have, you didn't create that character. And like Jody said, at any moment, all that could be taken away from you. First of all, why risk it? Why risk it for the quick buck? Because it might bring in some money at Comic-Cons right now, but I guarantee you in 10 years, they're going to be buttoning up that stuff at shows because it's already starting to really cost. Some shows have already banned or put a limit on some fan art. And it's only going to get that belt is only going to get tighter. So, I encourage you, if you're an artist, many of my friends are fan art artists, and they're great at what they do. My advice to anybody that's in that boat, retire those pieces, start doing your own stuff, because that's what people want anyway.
Yeah. And the thing is now, of course, we've got lawyers going through Etsy and probably scanning Facebook and all other social media for it. But as a broadcaster, I can tell you now, there are bots that a lot of music copyright owners, they send these bots out and they scour every show, and they can do it from the first moment to last. I have been hit with copyright claims on some of my Facebook and some of my YouTube programs because we inadvertently used a piece of music that was copyrighted.
Yeah.
And, of course, there are ways to get around it. Of course, like Joe said, there's fair use. But the thing is, people think, well, I'll just quote that part in the, I'll cite the one line in the copyright laws, like Rule 706 or whatever, 0.3 or what have you. And I'm in the clear. No, For you legal people out there, and Joe will probably agree with me, there's 4 different things that have to go into fair use. And if you don't know it, don't try it. It won't work. But yeah, I think you made a good point, Brian, that a number of artists, and I understand it too, because I've got some friends that do the fan art thing too. But it's a short term versus long term thing where, like you and Joe have your intellectual properties and you're working them and you're building your audience and doing everything right. And you could go down the easy path and it's like, okay, I'm going to draw Harley Quinn pictures all day at shows.
Right.
And if somebody wants to use it for their own purpose, that's fine. Or, just hang it on their wall, that'd be beautiful. But if they're going to like create posters or anything of it, then you've actually committed a federal crime. And look up what the penalty is for copyright infringement. It's like it'll break you. It'll break you if you get caught, and there is potential jail time in it. Just look up the Wikipedia entry for copyright infringement and become illuminated.
And that's why, I have done fan art. I do fan art, but only characters in the public domain, because they're fair game anyway. And one of my favorite fan art pieces that I am a huge critic of my own stuff, which most artists are, but I think one of my best pieces I've ever done is my Bela Lugosi Dracula that I've posted a few times, and I love that. And I could sell that if I wanted to. It doesn't look enough like Bela Lugosi to really matter, but it's Dracula. Dracula's been in the public domain for a very long time.
Right.
If I wanted to put Dracula in Memoirs of an Angel or The Nebulizer, it'd be weird, but I could do it legally.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, if you want to do fan art, you can still do fan art of familiar characters. Just there's so many characters in the public domain that you can choose from.
On the other hand,
more every year.
On the other hand, there's nothing like getting a cease and desist order from Bela Lugosi Jr., who's a attorney,
or Universal Pictures.
Universal. No, actually, it's probably going to come from his son, because Universal even has to go through the son, because he was a lawyer and he was one of them that pioneered yes, you may be able to put out a Dracula poster. Mm-hmm. You can't use my father's image.
Bingo.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that's what I said. It doesn't look enough like Bela Lugosi, and I won't title it Bela Lugosi.
Yeah. As they say, don't be stupid. So anyway, let's get some comment. Or did you have something to say, Joe?
Yeah, just dealing with the fan art, because the way I try to tell people and I try to get them to think in this standpoint. If you're going to do anything that's fan art, make it relate to like a cosplay or something to that, where your character is focused on it. Because it's like, I'm looking at, Bombshell Girls, Big Barter and stuff. It's not Big Barter. It's my character dressed up like that. Or, the anime character, Diane the Serpent from, 7 Deadly Sins. Or even some classic ones like Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
That's ways that you can get around it, and people can recognize it's like, oh, that's like a Marilyn Monroe like piece, but it's your character. You have a right to do so, and you can do things like that. You don't have to make Deathpool all the time. When you do, especially with mask characters, that mask design is 9 times out of 10 trademark. You can't really do much of anything to make it look like more like your character. That is a transition between the two.
Yeah. And there is not a thin line between homage and ripoff. That is very clearly defined. You mentioned Marilyn Monroe. There's that iconic pose from the 7-Year Itch where Marilyn is standing over the air vent and it's blowing her dress up and she's grinning while she's trying to push it down. But you could, if you drew Harley Quinn in there, then it's transformative, which is part of the 4 tenets of fair use.
Like that one.
Exactly. There we go.
That's like everybody knows that's Lady Dharmasu from Resident Evil 8, but this is my character in cosplay. This is an homage cover to Sensational She-Hulk #1, but it features my character holding her copy issue of #1.
Mhm.
And it has another, gag within itself. That's how you get around it. You need to focus more on your own characters, and you can do homages, but to do a direct copy is a different story. That's a whole different another ball.
Look at Brian's Hellboy copy from tonight. The cover,
Yeah,
is an homage, but it's not the kind of thing it's a violation. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you can tell if you're a fan of The Exorcist, you can tell what inspired this.
Yeah.
But it's not the Exorcist poster either.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful stuff. Getting to the comments while Joe's got his back to us. Have they tried Disney characters in Fortnite yet? only if they're suicidal.
Right.
And then they tried to sue Google. Oh, yeah. And Sarah's like, oh, okay, I never heard of them before now anyway. So, and Carl Wisp says, seems that Epic didn't like paying the portion of the revenue that went to Apple and Google. They wanted all the money.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Ooh, that's greed kills.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is where Google and Apple take them to court and not only get damages and the money they're due, they will also probably get their court costs, which will probably put the company out of business with
one
luck.
can only hope. The one time that Google and Apple teamed up.
That's right. The only time they fought for a common cause. And the thing is that you're going to have the Fortnite people going, like was mentioned earlier. It's like, well, why are they picking on Fortnite? Why are they, why is Goliath picking on David? And it's like, well, because it's the law, stupid. It's like I remember back when Siegel and Schuster, during their last round of suing DC and Warner to regain control of the copyright on Superman. I had a number of friends that when they first launched the thing, they were like, oh, yeah, Siegel and Schuster need to be taken care of. They need to, they built this industry. They created Superman. And then when it came out that DC was considering not publishing Superman or publishing a vastly different version of it. And that's why, here's a little tip. That's why they did Superman Blue, because of that, too. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, who do Siegel and Schuster think they are? Why are they trying to keep me from getting my comic books? Oh, damn them! That sort of thing. So, and Eric Hawkins goes, "Oh, you mean Greg Land?" And Eric would know all about Etsy.
Wow.
Eric would know all about Etsy and the mouse. So anyway, and Sarah. We have a flash here. OMG, I'm having chocolate brownies with Andy's mints melted on top of them. Off topic, but yum.
Ooh.
What'd you do that to me for, Sarah? That's not nice. Now I want brownies.
And probably so does indeed Ace. And Cindy Kep has some great comments here. We just had a comment dump. And she says there's a dude who makes the rounds on Facebook groups crowing about his Star Wars spinoff. He's had the idea for years, so he can do it. Many of us have tried to educate him on copyright versus trademark. No joy. Some people you just can't reach. I think I know who that is. I think they were trying to launch a Star Wars comic on am I right, Joe? On
I remember that.
On Kickstarter, they took it down.
I remember when that happened.
One dude that ripped off I forgot what it was, which Batman book it was, have the actual pages and everything as if it was
wow.
And I knew the artist, and I was about to write him and say, you may want to back out of this.
Yeah.
Because that's a good way to kill your career, as has been said. Cindy Kemp goes, conversely, I created a character who is an interviewer. A writer I know used her in one of his books after asking me and making sure I was cool with it. A story was told that one of the major cons, the mouse sent a lawyer with a pile of C&Ds. He walked the aisles and handed out C&Ds to folks trying to sell mouse characters. Yeah, I've been hearing about that for the last 10 years, that Warner's and Disney regularly make, especially the big cons like C2E2, New York Comic-Con and San Diego Con, and they're just, hi, you've got the mouse, here's yours. It's like Jeff Foxworthy, here's your sign. Here's your sign. You're stupid. Anyway, when I look for amigurumi patterns, I look for ones that say I can sell what I make from the pattern, usually with an attribution. If it says the products resulting can't be sold, I keep looking, and that's why I DIY'd patterns for animal eyes critters. Well, here's something I learned from Cookie, that you can go to like Joann's Fabrics and pick up licensed fabric. And you guys have seen me wearing my Superman shirt, my Doctor Who shirt.
Yeah.
It says on the fabric, this is not for commercial use.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can make a shirt for yourself, but if I try to make another one and sell it at a show, I am breaking the law.
Yeah.
So, Sarah. Oh, in fact, I didn't even see this. And when there's fabric of non-public domain and someone's making something out of it and sells what they make, is that illegal? Yes. Because again, if we talk about fair use, it does not see. Like I said, there's 4 tenets, and I can never remember all 4 at the same time. But it is transformative because you're changing it from fabric to a shirt. But it does not provide commentary or parody, and it does not link back to the original. Which is something that another aspect is, does the new work diminish or destroy the commercial viability of the original? Did I do that right, Joe?
Yeah.
Thank
for
you.
the most part. Yep.
Yeah. So, but when they spell out the parameters that this is not for commercial use, that's as good as, saying it's a law. That you are basically violating the terms under which you are purchasing the fabric. So in essence, pretty much so. I'm sorry, go ahead, Joe.
You made me think about another point.
Yeah.
Everybody does not understand the point of an end user license as of yet, because when we buy stuff, everything has an applied end user license to it. That comes back to, I believe, the Copyright Act of 1975. When people were complaining about computer software and everything, they had to revamp copyright laws. And now it's like most of the time everything comes with some type of implied end user licensing applied to it.
True. And and we could probably do a whole show on the legality of copyright and trademark, which is something a lot of people don't understand, and especially creative folks should. Syndicap shouldn't be unless they dyed the material themselves. The material manufacturer paid for the license. That is very true. And non-public domain characters. Well, there aren't many of them that would probably warrant being put on. Although you could do like the Wizard of Oz. I believe those are public domain now.
Right.
But you couldn't do, for instance, the MGM version of them because that is still in copyright. That's why if you read the original books, Dorothy doesn't have ruby red slippers. She has, I think, gold.
Yep.
And different, other things. The movie is very accurate in a lot of ways, but it's the little details that could trip you up.
Kind of like Universal's Frankenstein.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why
you can do Frankenstein all day long. You just can't use Universal.
When you start putting neck bolts on it, you got problems. Yeah,
and there for a while. Yeah, there for a while it was also the scar right here.
Yeah,
and it was
skull.
Yeah. I know when Hammer Horror, I would mention them a lot tonight. When Hammer Horror did their first Frankenstein movie, they couldn't use any resemblance of Boris Karloff's monster at all. And they were trying to get Boris Karloff to do the monster again for them, and because of Universal, they couldn't. And so it went to Christopher Lee. And honestly, I think Hammer's Frankenstein's monster looks better, in my opinion. I love it. I think it's a very unique look, of the character. But yeah, they'll come after you.
And here's the thing: also the unique makeup that Jack Pierce created for the 1931 Frankenstein, it's not copyrighted. It is trademarked. Trademarks are eternal.
Yeah.
As long as you defend them, like in the case what Universal did to Hammer Films by saying, "Hey, you can't do that," you are defending it, and as whereas copyrights, at least at the present time, have a shelf life.
Yeah.
So that they will eventually go into the public domain. A trademark does not. And as long as there's a company that can defend it, the trademark will always be with us. And Cindy kept follows up by saying, and that is why the fabrics are more expensive. That's also why when a comic book licenses say a movie or a TV show, they have to sell a lot more copies per month because of the expense of the license. So another fun fact. And Carl Witzman's on his way to Stupid O'Clock. I can tell. Carl, thank you very much for your help tonight. Much appreciated. And great show. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. And Sarah says, I think BKM just answered my question. Personal use, okay to do. Sell it, illegal. Am I getting that right? I think it's a good guideline for the most part, especially if you're repurposing something. But like Brian said, create something original. Here's something I don't tell many people, although some have figured out from reading the book that know comics. Volcana, my Volcana, was inspired by Son of Vulcan from Charlton. Now, those were not copyrighted. They are in the public domain, although DC has a trademark, although I don't know if it's active anymore. But the thing is, what I did was I used the idea of Son of Vulcan to springboard Volcana. I changed the gender. I changed the powers up a little. I changed the relationship to the gods. But, as long as I don't use the character on the cover, I probably could use it fairly legally. Joe, what you got for us?
I was about to say, even the name of my comic is trademarked by somebody else, but I have to make certain that it doesn't violate in any way. So you have to think about the fonts that you use, how it looks, how it's displayed, and everything. It's like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and there's also a major difference between registered and applied trademarks too. So that's getting into a whole nother show. We don't want to get into legalities.
Yeah.
When I'm doing B-Man stories, the character B-Man has the ability to become Saturday morning matinee heroes or B movie characters. So I create a lot of things. Like this last story had a masked marshal character who's definitely the Lone Ranger, but he's changed, and you don't use any Lone Ranger stuff. And his backstory reflects actually the serialized version of the Lone Ranger more than the masked marshal, or more than the TV version. But I have to do that constantly. I go look and see. I actually found 2 references in this last story that I did for number 3 that were in public domain. So I let the publisher know, I use these movie titles just outright because one was making their version of a famous movie. This little company was trying to, emulate the success, so they made a B movie similar to this movie. And I could say that movie because it's now public domain. But yeah, I mean, if you look up a little bit, you can kind of get around things. You just have to be careful.
Yeah, and also when you get a trademark application, I swear we'll move on after this. The trademark has to spell out exactly what it is used for. The example I was given when I was doing research on it for myself was, if I create a company and I make automobiles and I want to call them camels, I can do that. If I want to create the camel pencil, I can do that because it's spelled out. It's for a lead object, a wooden thing that holds lead inside it, or it's an automobile. But if I make a cigarette, I'm in trouble because Camel Cigarettes already has the trademark on it. And Carl Witzman has some wisdom here. Pretty much, Sarah, unless it's Mickey Mouse, then don't do it at all. Yeah. Don't mess with the mouse has been a long time mantra in the creative community. Didn't think of that, Cindy? Makes sense. And for Art You Do, example I made, Martians thinking they were public domain because they're educational TV, and they're not. So now I mutate them: wings, arms, mustache, horns, 3 eyes, 1 eye, etc. From Cindy Cap. And in fabric, you already paid for the right to use it. And there we go. We're glad to help here. And mutating them, says Cindy Cap, makes some cool beans to sell, but not the original Yip yips.
Yeah.
So, and let's see, another comment dump. And yeah, and no epic suit, those two entities, they asked for it. And Eric Hawkins, remember Disney using the daycare a few years back for using their characters on the walls? Then Warner Brothers let the daycare use theirs. Effing mouse. And Sarah says, my boyfriend has been showing me the massive amount of eye candy at Gen Con since I can't go to cons while quarantined. How cool of him. And
Nice.
silver slippers in the books.
Oh,
Thank you, Eric.
that's what it
Thank you.
was.
And what about donated items I see in secondhand stores which have those characters on them? Trying to grasp what is and isn't okay. That's a good question. I would assume there's no illegality about it. Since the thing is already created, it would be like me selling a comic book to Joe. It's already been bought and paid for. As long as I'm not trying to create another version of it. I think it all comes down to the creation of it.
Yeah.
And let's see here. And okay, Joe, do you need to go?
No. I'm just nodding in agreement because it's like that's the almost the legal personification of what a one-off is.
Okay. I just thought
like the one-off that we don't know where the source is truly from. Nobody can get really can have ownership of it. We just know it was created and is similar enough that one could theoretically say that it was a license violation. But since nobody is claiming the source of it, nor the copyright owner or the trademark owner sees a problem in it, yeah, you could sell something like that if you came across it at like a secondhand store or a Goodwill or a rummage sale or something like that. Nobody knows where it came from.
I would like to point your attention to my weird cat who likes to stick her legs straight up in the air when she lays down.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Like, I am not doing this. She's just straight up. You're weird. You know this?
We're not here to judge you, freak. Anyway, None but love, you know it. And City gives us the Worlds of Weinbaum book collection that Bear Publications, who puts out Animal Eye, and you should buy it, was put out based on Stanley Weinbaum's tales, which are public domain. Here's another fact, that every year more stuff goes into the public domain. I think they're up to 1926, 27 now, something like that. So which means in a few years, expect the copyright laws to change because Mickey Mouse will go into the public domain. Or no, excuse me, not Mickey Mouse himself, but certain cartoons that were created. Just like 4 years later, we might see Superman, the character from the early issues of Action Comics, go into public domain, but it will not cover Perry White. It will not cover the Daily Planet. It will not cover Jimmy Olsen. It will just be Clark Kent, Superman, and Lois. And it'll be a Superman that can't fly or see through walls.
And the Shadow.
Well, that's right, in the Shadow.
Early iterations of the Shadow as well.
That's true.
So wouldn't that mean, well, technically, wouldn't that mean that Shazam would be public domain at that time too? Not the trademarks and stuff dealing with Billy Batson and everything, but the earlier stories.
Yeah, I would say that probably, because I think he came, what was it, 1939 or 40? Not long after Superman started coming out.
It was 40, but I'm not sure.
That's what I'm thinking too, Clyde. But anyway, it would be about 2 years after Superman. And again, it would be pretty much Captain Marvel as we know him, with Billy Batson and most of the characters intact, which means that about 3 years later, somebody can finally print the Monster Society of Evil.
Yeah.
And may God have mercy on their souls. It did not age well. And Eric Hawkins, I read an article recently that is it possible the Lone Ranger was actually based on Bass Reeves? True, who knows? But it was interesting. I've heard the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's all
Bass Reeves comic now too.
Wiz Comics #2, and it was actually has a release date of December 1939. Its cover date says February 1940, but 39.
That's what I was thinking then. Yeah. So, but yeah, then it would be 1 year after the copyright goes away, which I think would be like 2034 or something like that. I want to say, but I could be wrong. Sarah's taking a bite of the brownies for you, Rodman. You're welcome.
Shame.
Stop
And
teasing.
and to the random cat leg. Anyway,
Are those copyrighted brownies? Because you talked about Andy's mints. Did
yeah. Just what Sarah needs, more stress. But anyway,
I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm just kidding.
We are kidding. Once you take those Andy's mints home, the thing is, it won't matter. You can eat the evidence. That's the beautiful part about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you just melt them down, nobody's going to know because they don't look like that anymore.
Yeah, it's true. It's kind of like gold ingots that you steal from Fort Knox.
Yeah.
You melt them down, you're fine then. So anyway, so that brings us, I think, to the end of this exciting extravaganza of a program here. I want to thank all three of you for being amazing and informative and delightful. And let's go around the room. We'll start with Clyde, then Brian, then Joe, and tell everybody how they can keep up with you and your amazing adventures. Clyde, start us off, please.
Well, how could we be anything except amazing with you as our role model? I mean,
what?
Don't put that Charles Barkley answer. I'm nobody's role model.
That's me.
I'm Clyde Hall, and I'm an independent author. And you can find my work in the anthologies, new pulp anthologies at Stormgate Press. Pulp Reality 1 is out now and available at www.stormgatepress.com. It has the premiere of my character, B-Man, in it. It is an award-winning publication. And you can also find at the same site, Pulp Reality number 2 with a second B-Man story, one of many in the new pulp genre in this book. Number 3 is getting ready to come out. You can also find copies of those books on Amazon. You can find me on Facebook at Clyde Hall or Radiating Positive Vibes with author Clyde Hall. Like and subscribe, or like and send me a friend's request. We try to put out some positive news just about every day that you can look at and get a chuckle, get a smile, something to boost your spirit and not be a doom scroll for you. So, and you can find me here every Thursday night with these cool guys at Comic Book Spectrum.
All right. Thank you so much, Clyde. Much appreciated. And now, Brian Rodman, tell the people how to follow you.
You can follow me, other than being in the bushes. You can follow me at brianrodman.com. From there, you can go to all my social media that's up at the top of the website. I also have a Patreon, which we are about to launch an exclusive Patreon, an exclusive to Patreon series for all ages called Princess Warriors that I am actually writing with my 3 nieces. They're ages from 7 to 10, and they're extremely creative. It's going to be a ton of fun. There's a giant dog with boots. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's called Princess Warriors, coming to Patreon only in January. But in the meantime, you can head to brianrodman.com and check out Memoirs of an Angel, which is like Lord of the Rings meets The Exorcist. And the new issue that's coming out, we're launching on Kickstarter on October 1st. You can sign up for it to get notified right here and head that way to really just boost our launch day. And also, pretty soon on brianrodman.com, you will be able to get The Nebulizer number 1. It is a post-apocalyptic action comedy about an asthmatic and his feisty AI-controlled nebulizer suit named Albie as they fight through a post-apocalyptic world filled with allergen mutants. It's a ton of fun. It's ridiculous. And there's some parts that might tug at your heartstrings. So that miniseries has launched, and it will be available soon. And I am also... my gosh. I'm also 1/3 of the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, which is soon to be launching on the Rising Tide Network on October 6th at 7 p.m. And this has been a wonderful show. Thank you, Brian. And well done, Joe. Well
Yes,
done.
well done. Well
Yes,
done.
indeed.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much. And here he is, the man of the hour, our stand-in, but he always comes through. Joe D. McFee, thank you again. And please tell the people how they can follow you.
Well, pretty much, depending on how things go this Saturday, I might be exuberantly happy or a little bit weepy. Why? Because on this Saturday, the Indie Vote Comic Book Awards happen.
Ooh,
They start earlier that
Woohoo!
night,
right.
and my comic book series, Primetime Saturday Night, is up for 2 awards here. So we all need to go like this, close our eyes, and be like, "He will win. He will win. He will win.
He will
Yeah.
win. He will
The
win.
vote-
He
He
will
will
win.
win. He will win.
The series is up for best ongoing series for 2021 and best graphic novel. I don't see myself winning best graphic novel, but ongoing series it could be where it's at here. So I'm happy to be nominated here. So come Saturday, you might see me exorbitantly happy announcing a win, or me giving kind of like a concession speech on From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, dealing with the award ceremony here. Or if they do run late, we might end up watching it live together. So you'll find out at the same time that I will, because I'm not able to go out to Michigan to be with them on that show.
That's great. And definitely check out From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher every
You
Saturday
get
night.
more information there about how to get my books.
There we go. And eggsandgstudio.com. See?
Mm-hmm.
And he's a part of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network.
Yes, I can't wait for Brian Rodman's group here to get over here, because I would no longer be the baby of the.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you so much.
The babies.
Thank you, Joe D. McFee.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
Were you looking at that fold out bustier of the allergen mutant?
Yeah. That was some pretty raunchy ragweed there, I'm telling you. And also, all 3 of our names, all of the 3 of us are in the thank yous there, so that's pretty cool.
And the Eric Hawkins.
The Eric Hawkins, Captain Hawkins. So
Yeah.
the whole crew is representing, I'm telling you. And on a personal note, Joe, good luck. Seriously. Congratulations on your nomination.
Absolutely.
So very happy for you. So I'm going to mute these guys because my ego demands it. Anyway, let's run through the last of your comments here. And let's see. And Cindy Cap says, thanks for hosting the adventure. Much fun had by all, including the fluffy co-host. Ted Davies Artistry says, great show, kids. Have a great evening, all. You too, my friend. And we'll talk to you tomorrow, probably. And thank you, Sarah, for being here. And yeah, easy for you to say. And go Joe. Go Joe. Either she's with America's Greatest Hero, or she's cheering on our own Joe D. McFee. And so cool of you to do with your nieces, Rodman. I'll take a second bite for you. You're double welcome. And that is one of Joe's characters. Is that Joe? Is that right? I've unmuted you.
Yes, it is. That's Elisa Masters. That's the main character for the Amazonia series.
All right. Excellent. Thank you so much for that. And thank you, Sarah. And thank you to everyone who has watched tonight. And as always, we want to say thank you to our sponsor of this show, Plasma Fire Graphics. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you. Great books deserve great covers. Get your great cover at plasmafiregraphics.com. Check out their Facebook page. Check them out at plasmafiregraphics.com, and also ask for their rate card. They are super, super affordable, and they're fantastic to work with. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you, because it matters to your readers. Also, what matters to me are my Patreon supporters. Patreon is a monthly subscription service where you can support your favorite creators directly. And I want to thank all these people for their ongoing support. I appreciate them so very much. And Angie, who isn't on the card yet, I will get her on here. Thank you for joining the Madhouse here. And it's not just a money dump. You give me money, I will create for you. I have a work in progress that I'm serializing called The Terrors, and also an exclusive blog that only these people will see. So if you want to check out what I'm doing and what I can do for you, go to www.patreon.com/Brian K. Morris. Also, please check out our Facebook page for the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, 7 days a week of entertainment and information. Right now, even as we speak, go to Stupid O'Clock on YouTube and check out the hilarity there, followed hopefully by Dan Hollifield's Last Man Standing. And then tomorrow morning I will be on for Nevermind the Furthermore, and tomorrow night will be at 8 p.m. will be the Historical Fencing Guild with Nicholas Anthony Tucker, teaching you how to kill your friends and neighbors safely. It's safety third. Remember that. And I want to thank everyone here for your great comments, your great support of the show. It is super, super appreciated. And one more thanks to Jody McFee for substituting for Eric Hawkins tonight. His presence is greatly appreciated. And so, folks, this is the time where we hope you'll join us next week for another episode of Comic Book Spectrum, and we'll see you tomorrow on Nevermind the Furthermore. So as always, folks, stay smart, stay safe, wash your hands, and never apologize for being awesome. Have a great evening, everyone. We'll see you next week on Comic Book Spectrum.
Thank you for watching Comic Book Spectrum, a Rising Tide Broadcast Network production. Please join us next week for another look at comics, past, present, and future. If you enjoyed this, please give the show a like and be sure to subscribe and share it with your friends. To receive our free monthly newsletter, go to www.risingtide.pub and be sure to give the Rising Tide Broadcast Network page on Facebook a like in order to receive news about upcoming shows, including Clever Title Pending, Stupid O'Clock, Clever as Hail, Comics Chaos and Sass, Tidbits and Scribbles, the Historical Fencing Guild, and Nevermind the Furthermore. See you next week.